There's quite a lot of evidence that in pre-industrial society, if you lived past adolescence, then you had quite a good chance of living to a reasonable age, and the chance of getting cancer was very low. We have lots of written evidence from physicians who are travelling in Africa and Canada and places to that effect. Now, what's been happening in developed countries in the last 4 or 5 decades is we've seen a big rise in the incidence of cancer. Just after the Second World War, there was a 1 in 4 chance of getting cancer in this country, and now it's less than 1 in 3. For men in America, it's very nearly 1 in 2. We're also seeing changes in the increases in the incidence of cancer amongst children and in cancers of young people. So cancer of the testis in the male is typically that something comes between 25 and 45 years. We have to ask ourselves, why is that happening? And the answer is that it has to be something to do with the environment in which we live. There was a big study done by Dr. Lichtenstein, who works in Stockholm, and he published that in the New England Journal of Medicine in the year 2000. They looked at 45,000 pairs of twins, identical twins, and they looked for the concurrence of the same type of cancer in identical twins, and they found that actually to be rather low, somewhere around 10%. So the conclusion of that paper is that the biggest influence in whether you get cancer or not is the world that you live in, and not the genes that you inherit from your parents. And that can be divided down into various different factors. So it can be lifestyle factors, the food you eat, the tobacco that you smoke, the alcohol that you drink, etc. And then it can be, the other division is pollutants that you receive in an involuntary fashion through the air, water and food. Depending on your viewpoint, people put different weights on this. So industry will say that the impact of the pollutants in the environment is very low, 1%, maybe top 4%. But the lifestyle factors are very important. I tend to look at that slightly differently. I think that actually there's a lot of evidence out there which is showing that the pollutants could be having a major effect in combination with lifestyle. So in the period I've been talking about, sort of 60 years, particularly the last 30 years, where we've seen this rise in cancer incidence, things have changed. I mean, we do eat less fresh fruit and vegetables than we used to, on average. That will be having an impact. We, as a nation, are getting heavier. We eat more. And that will have an impact. But we're also, all of us, walking around with a complex mixture of chemicals in our body. That's hundreds of groups of chemicals, which if you break down into their individual variants is tens of thousands. They were not there when my grandparents were in their mother's womb. And the time when they have their maximum impact appears to be when you're a fetus in the womb. And the reason for that is that quite a number of these chemicals have been demonstrated to be able to interfere with the way that cells talk to one another. And the most obvious cell signaling molecules, which everyone will know about, are the hormones such as thyroxine and estrogen and testosterone.